Hello friends, welcome to episode 9. In this episode, we shall explore how the divine has incarnated several times on this earth for stepping up the momentum in the human evolution. In this connection, I had written this book, Incarnations Steps to Momentum in Human Evolution, published by Author House UK. And in this book, we explore how the divine from time to time has taken several incarnations on the face of this earth, in various parts of the earth, not necessarily only in India, although many incarnations had happened in India, but it has in the Indian subcontinent, but also in other parts of the world. These incarnations, what is an incarnation or what is an avatar as we call in Sanskrit? Incarnation is when the divine, when the supreme divine assumes a form, a human form, takes birth and disappears. Now, in the early stages of existence of this creation during the Satya Yuga or the Krita Yuga, in the beginning when 100% sattvic gunas were predominant, that is, intelligence was 100%, then, or sattva guna is the pure qualities or pure attributes were 100%. At that time, the supreme being just manifested and just disappeared, went back to their respective abodes. Like Vishnu had the abode called Vaikunta, Shiva had the abode called Kailash, Shakti had the Shakti Loka, Surya had the Saura Mandala, and Brahma had the Swarga Loka or the Satya Loka. Similarly, Indra and other devas, Indra, Varuna, Agni, Vayu, all of these gods were in the Swarga Loka. They could just manifest, assume a human body, come on the earth, do some activity for a few minutes, for a few hours, or for a longer period of time, and simply vanish. Means they had the ability to gather all the atoms and dismantle all that atoms. Perhaps for those who have read in the autobiography of a yogi by Paramahamsa Yogananda, he has spoken about this, the ability for yogis who have developed have reached great heights in their yogic powers, that is siddhis. Siddhis are powers, divine powers that we develop when we practice penance or austerities for a prolonged period of time. So some yogis are able to, out of thin air, gather the atoms, manifest a human body as their physical body, and perform some action or perform some or whatever is required to be done. Say, supposing they have to meet a certain person, hand over a book, or do some work with or have a conversation with somebody, or convey certain message to somebody, and then they'll simply vanish. That is, all the atoms will be dismantled. These were powers of the Navanath, who are the 9 Nath. There was a Nath Panth cult, that is, it was a cult derived from Shiva. They were Shiva Bhaktas, Shaivites, and they had these siddhis. There are several siddhis, like Hanuman has all these siddhis, Anima, Garima, Mahima, that is, they are able to reduce themselves to a size of an atom, enlarge themselves to a size of a mountain, and suddenly become very light or suddenly become very heavy. These are all siddhis that they develop, and which through practice, through yogic practices over a prolonged period of time. So, when these the incarnations, as in the initial stages of creation, they used these siddhis and manifested and unmanifested and disappeared. If they had to kill one demon, they came, they killed, and they went away. But later on, like when they started taking a physical form, when they had the creation progressed from Satya Yuga, when Rajoguna started manifesting, that is in the Treta Yuga, that is when the Satya, the 100% purity got reduced, shrunk to 90%, 80%, and the other qualities also started manifesting. Then the divine had to take forms through the manifest people, that is animate and inanimate things, that is they could take a form as a tortoise or as a crocodile or as a boar. So these divine incarnations like Matsya avatar, Kurma avatar, Varaha avatar, as a pig, as a Matsya, as a fish. So these avatars which were taken in the initial stages were to bring about momentum in evolution on earth. Like when the creatures, the single celled organisms like the algae had to become multicellular organism, the Matsya avatar had happened. And then Kurma avatar, the tortoise. So Kurma avatar, in that Kurma avatar there was a churning of the ocean, where Kurma, that is that tortoise, was a base on which that mountain was churned for through which certain nectar and other supernatural things came around. That means got manifested, like Kamadhenu, the Kalpataru, wish fulfilling tree, then Lakshmi, the consort or the wife of Vishnu, they all manifested from that churning. So in this way, in the course of evolution, there were different stages which happened. So in the initial stages, the divine, the supreme divine took these forms. Later on, when the human, even as human beings, at that time human beings were supernatural people. They lived for 60,000 years, 70,000 years. So they didn't, and they also produced children, means they also gave birth to a number of children, grandchildren. That's how this Srishti developed, this creation developed. But in that process, the human evolution, see, initially when the human beings were producing children and all, it was an instinct for reproduction. Means they didn't have great intellect or anything. That is, they used to obey what their parents said, or what the rishi said, or whatever they told to do. Means they had certain rituals to perform, they would perform the rituals. They didn't think beyond that. There was no further exploration like we do today, go into space and send rockets and things. Yes, they had intellect. That with that intellect, if they were given a job of doing creating a plane, then they would create a plane. That's it. But it was not out of a desire to explore something and all. So there was no instinctive desire, but there was a sense of obedience, sense of doing, a karma for karma's sake, dharma for dharma's sake. If that was their dharma, they would do their dharma. So this was, but then when later on, that is why in those stages, the chakras were the lower chakras, the Muladhara, the Swadhisthana and the Nabhi. That was all the chakras that were really active. The Muladhara, which was of innocence, wisdom, chastity and auspiciousness, that was very strong. There was no licentiousness. People were very devoted to their wives. Similarly, the wives were also devoted to their husband. And even if something outside the marriage was considered a big crime. So this, so the Mooladhara chakra, Swadhisthana, creativity, that is expression by way of writing, literature, painting, architecture and these things. And Nabhi, satisfy. Nabhi is your, which is the driving force, by which they were doing everything for their Nabhi. That is gut feeling, that fulfilling their stomach requirements, that is food, doing all their karmas for sustenance, for fulfillment of their instincts. So they didn't go much beyond those 3 chakras. So that is why the evolution of human beings to the chakras above that. Now this went on for ages, yugas together, yugas, many thousands of years, one Chaturyuga. In Chaturyuga there is a solar Chaturyuga and a cosmic Chaturyuga. So in the solar Chaturyuga you have also 12,000 years, which has Satya Yuga, Treta Yuga, Dwapar Yuga and Kali Yuga. So like that there are 71, 72 Chaturyugas in one kalpa, and one kalpa is one day in that of Brahma. So like that, so as of now Brahma is 51 years old. So imagine how much more, so we can't imagine the time span. So for ages and ages we were still functioning, even though we were human beings, we were functioning in those 3 chakras. Now this universe has a Virata Purusha. Virata Purusha means the cosmic being. The cosmic being pervades the whole cosmos. When the whole cosmos has only these centers or these faculties activated, even the human beings at the lower level, at other levels, will also function only within the limitations of these. But when a certain new faculty had to be evolved, the divine had to incarnate. And sometimes, many times it has happened when the evil forces have become stronger than the good forces. Then the divine had to incarnate for killing these evil forces. In the initial stages, the evil forces were very strong. So it was not possible for the devas or even the human beings, the rishis, munis, sages, to tackle them. So divine had to incarnate several times for killing these asuras, demons, such as the Narasimha avatar and like that Vamana avatar. These avatars were for killing these demons who had assumed, they had assumed control over all the 3 worlds. They had assumed control over the earth, the Swarga, the Patal, all the 3 worlds. They had assumed control. So the divine had to incarnate. So as then later on, when these demons, the physical demons, were killed, then only the divine thought that there should be a further refinement of the human being. And this had to happen at the Virata Purusha level, at the macrocosmic level, at the cosmic Purusha level. It is only when it happens at the macrocosmic level that it can percolate to the microcosmic level, at the level of the human beings. So then came the Rama avatar, Ramachandra, in the 24th kalpa of this Manvantara. Of this Manvantara, 24th kalpa, Ramachandra, Sri Ramachandra incarnated for opening the heart center, the Anahat chakra of the cosmos, cosmic Purusha or the Virata Purusha. Why? Because till then people were very barbarous kind of. They were just living on by hunting food, hunting and by grabbing or killing the animals and things like that. But when the divine felt we need to have a sense of compassion, a sense of discipline, Maryada Purush. Now Ramachandra was known as a Maryada Purush. That means he followed certain disciplines, obedience, faithfulness, and working within his dharma. What was his dharma and what his duties were towards his family, towards his brothers, towards his wife, towards his kingdom, and so on. So dharma, as Krishna says in the next avatar, dharma samsthapanarthaya sambhavami yuge yuge. Whenever dharma, in order to establish dharma, I manifest from time to time in every yuga. So in Treta Yuga, Ramachandra had manifested to establish a sense of compassion, a sense of for opening the heart, to have the courage to be able to protect oneself. Now Ravana stole away Sita. He kidnapped her and went. Now if it would have been a different, either the human beings would have suffered their plight, succumbed to that, and maybe it would have been a different story. But when the heart chakra got opened, Rama stood for himself. He gathered, he actually wept. Actually, he felt sorry at the separation. He could not bear the separation. That sense of compassion, that sense of love and affection for his wife was had to come about in the heart chakra. And then even courage he developed, which is again the heart quality of the heart chakra. Courage to defeat an asura, a human being to defeat an asura. Otherwise, most of the asura, the Ravana and others, he was a Rakshasa. Even though he was a Rakshasa, as a human being, Ramachandra defeated Rakshasa. Now, remember, Ramachandra never knew for a major part of his lifetime, he didn't know that he was an incarnation. He lived as a human being. He was born of the womb of his mother, Kaushalya. So, and his brothers also. So, they were born from the womb, and they lived as a human being. He didn't live with any supernatural powers. So, through development of the qualities, capabilities that is possible for a human being, this incarnation of Ramachandra was what came about. Then we have the incarnation of Krishna. Krishna was a Purna avatar. He manifested to open the Vishuddhi chakra of the Virata Purusha at the macrocosmic level, in order to open the communication channels, in order to be able to communicate diplomacy. People after Ramachandra, they had their heart started developing. But along with love, compassion, they also started having hatred, jealousy, greed. These things also started developing in them. So when these things happened, there was enmity, animosity between the people. Kings were fighting kings. So in order to develop a divine diplomacy, an ability to negotiate with other kings and still live within the boundaries of their kingdoms. So for that only, Krishna came into, and at that he also killed the demons like Kansa and others who were demons even at that time. So Krishna came to open the Vishuddhi chakra at the Virata level, at the macrocosmic level, and then human beings evolved at the microcosmic level. Human beings, Vishuddhi chakra got activated. They were able to express themselves. Means they were able to write, read, communicate, and Krishna's basically instrument was a flute. So the finer qualities, refined qualities started developing in human beings, because there was a connection, established communication channel between the brain and the rest of the body began to develop. So the instructions from the brain got sent to the human body, and the human body responded according to the fine-tuned development of the brain. So when the mind got a vriddhi, an expansion, an exposure, it started developing new desires and skills, and that could be expressed. So in this way, the divine incarnates for speeding up the process of human evolution. Then at the Agya chakra was Jesus Christ. Now Jesus Christ, this is an incarnation abroad, outside India. So it is not necessary that it should happen only in India. It can happen anywhere in the world. And these incarnations happen. Sometimes the incarnations are an anshu part, that is only a small portion of the Supreme Divine get manifested or are born as human beings. It depends on the purpose for which they are born. So Jesus Christ was born to open the Agya chakra, the sense of discrimination between what is right and wrong, and to be able to forgive the people who commit wrong unknowingly, who don't know what is right and wrong. And so he was punished. He had to go through that punishment, but he went through the punishment because he wanted to prove that it is possible to even forgive. That is, human beings can sublimate themselves, can evolve themselves to the position of a divine quality. Forgiveness is a godly quality. Only God forgives. So if we are able to develop, so that in a human being, if we develop that quality, they say, to err is human, but to forgive is divine. That is a statement from the Bible. So forgiveness is a divine quality. So a human being can become divine when his consciousness gets awakened and rises up to this level. And then when it crosses, and for the Sahasrar Chakra, and then also there were incarnations at the Argya where Buddha and Mahavir, Buddha and Mahavir are the left and right side of the brain. So as you know, that Ida Nadi and Pingla Nadi crosses over. So one is Buddha and one is Mahavir. So they, one renounced the kingdom and adopted a mendicant's life, and who said that we should give up all desires. Right? He wanted to give up all desires, and the other, he developed non-violence to the extent that we couldn't even harm any insect. So these two are other Ansha avatars. But then we can say that Buddha and Mahavir were slightly different from the divine incarnations, in the sense that the Supreme Divine manifested as a human being, being born in the womb of a woman and taking the natural birth, and then growing up, and then doing these supernatural or the divine work. But Buddha and Mahavira were human evolutions. They were growing from the down up, the ascent of the human being to the divine. Whereas the other incarnations like Rama Avatar, Krishna Avatar are descent of the Supreme to the human being. So these two incarnations are ascent of the human being to the divine. And so they are also put under the category of avatar. And then Sahasrar Chakra, Sri Mataji Nirmala Devi opened the Sahasrar Chakra in Nargol in Gujarat in India in May 1970, when she opened the Sahasrar Chakra at the cosmic level, at the macrocosmic level, with the result that it could become possible for the human beings. And then she taught it through her own method. She developed the method of Sahaja Yoga, although it was a Kundalini awakening, but through the Kundalini awakening, raising the Kundalini to the Sahasrar at the macrocosmic level through her physical body, she raised the Kundalini of the universe. That same method she wanted to spread to a large number of people, large number of human beings, and so she developed the Sahaja Yoga method of meditation, through which mass realization was possible. And now it was after that, that it was in the 90s, that this Wi-Fi came, the mobile technology came up, by which it was possible to even communicate without any lines, physical lines, with cables. Earlier we had telephone cables to connect or communicate with each other, but then Wi-Fi and mobile system got developed after that. So thus, in this manner, the divine, the Supreme Divine takes many incarnations to step up the momentum in human evolution. At the same time, the human beings also, after that happens at the cosmic level, at the macrocosmic level, at the microcosmic level, humans develop that potential to rise to the divine. Reflect on this, my friends, and you will get deep insights on why the Supreme incarnates on this earth. This ends episode 9. We'll see on episode 10.